Hey guys, Steven of Salon Guy here, and today I'm going to be doing a step-by-step summer haircut makeover on this mannequin. Now, I've done this mannequin in the past with this particular haircut. It's a beautiful haircut, but say somebody comes in and she wants to go a lot shorter, something different for the summer, something a little more, edgy and easier to maintain. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this haircut. Let's get started. All right, guys, so I'm going to be using the razor for the majority of this haircut, and this is a straight blade razor. There's no guard in it, so definitely be careful if you're using this. Now, I'm going to pull everything straight out from the head, and I'm going to create a nice kind of really soft shape throughout the back. And I'm starting in the corner right here because this is going to kind of determine how the length is going to go throughout the back. And a lot of times you might get lost on, where do I start? What do I do? Where do I go when I'm cutting a haircut in the back? And every haircut honestly is different. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're going in a specific direction. You want to know that, okay, I'm cutting the hair to this length and I know this is what's going to happen, this is what the end result is going to be, and just so you keep yourself somewhat organized. So I'm taking these diagonal sections throughout the entire back and I'm combing everything straight up this way. Now I'm making sure that I can see my guide underneath, and I'm literally just cutting the hair with the razor downwards like that. And cutting with the razor is great for a number of reasons because it really creates seamless lines throughout the entire haircut, or no lines whatsoever, but it creates a seamless shape, which is great. Now, I wouldn't use a razor if the hair was, really, really fine, if it was like super thin, because the razor will create a softer, textured shape on the ends. So if the hair is really, really fine, you don't want to be taking out a lot of that weight that the hair, that they need. But it's great for someone who does have, medium to thick hair, in my experiences, because it will give them that shape, it will give them that texture, and it'll be very, very fun, kind of seamless haircut. And that's what I love about cutting with the razor. All right, I'm just going to tilt the head toward me a little bit so I can be a little more balanced. And again, you're combing everything straight out from the head, and you're using the razor just to kind of slide cut on the hair. And if you have a nice sharp blade, everything should come right off. And then what I like to do is sometimes at the end is just pinch the hair. And when you pinch the hair, it has a tendency to come, right off a little bit easier. After you get familiar with using the razor, things start to become like a little more fluid for you. In the beginning, it might be a little bit intimidating because you don't want to slice your finger, or you don't want to, screw up, which is totally fine and normal. But once you get the hang of it, you start to learn what you can do with the razor. The different tricks, the different little techniques you can do. And as you see in through here, as it's taking shape, it's really got a nice fluid, look to it without any sort of harsh lines. And that's what's great about this. Even though it may not be perfectly symmetrically, you want it to be symmetrical, but it might not be even straight across like a blunt cut you would get with shears. As long as it's in the same, the same family and on the same block, so to speak, as the rest of the hair, you want to make sure it's your neighbor, not living on the other side of town, you'll be okay. You want to make sure that everything is really kind of in sync together. But the razor helps really, I don't want to say camouflage anything, but in a sense it really does. It does help camouflage some bad haircuts. I've seen some really, really bad haircuts done with razors, believe it or not. All right, so literally I'm pulling everything straight out from the head, and now as I'm finishing the back, here's where I'm going to use those little tips and tricks that I was talking about. So you see I'm locking the hair in, and I'm just literally sliding like that to take off those little, I'm not giving you the middle finger here, folks, but this is just little bits of hair, you can see that when you lay the hair against your finger and you slide off that way, you'll take off a little more of a blunt section like that. And this is what I do if I feel certain areas are a little bit off or I need more hair, but just be very, very careful doing this. A lot of times you can use the feather razor. I've seen people using the feather razor, which has the guards. This, I know everyone's going to be asking what this is. This is the feather nape razor. So it is a feather razor, but it's the nape one, which is designed to go literally like right on the nape, directly on the skin. So it will cut. And when you're using the razor, I'm literally just scraping down that way like that. See, I'm using my fingers to push down that way. That's another really, really good technique. You don't want to like scrape too much from this area. You want to really just use the razor on the parts that you're cutting, because what could happen is you can end up removing too much weight, and you really don't want to do that, you know. So now I'm going to come in on the other side, just where I left, just where, kind of like I did on the other side in the corner, and I'm going to connect everything. And this is where I'm literally almost going to do the same thing, but now working the other direction. And that's going to help me kind of cross-check the whole thing to make sure it's all balanced. So you can cross-check a razor cut as well, which I suggest you always do. You always want to check your work to make sure. And the best way, again, is you can pull everything straight up from the head, and you can really start to see where it's, now this part in through here, I have to go a little bit shorter because we haven't really hit this part yet on the upper part of the middle of back of the head. So that's where we're going to comb everything straight out, and now it's a lot more balanced. So now I'm going to continue right into this corner, and I'm right around the division point area, which separates the front from the back. So this is the key kind of point, because we see now where we're headed. We have the length right in through here. So we have to kind of either go a lot shorter or we have to go this way. It all really depends on the shape of the look that you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep kind of a somewhat cropped look where I'm going to go not around the ear. I'm going to leave a little bit of hair in the ear area, but I am going to layer it pretty heavily. So it's kind of going to be like a shag, you know. So there we have that right there. This is done. So we know that this is our point right in through here that we're going to work forward towards. And I'm just going to cut this off right in through here just to make sure that everything is good and balanced. And then we're going to work on the other side. All right. So once again, you just want to make sure that everything is from the, you know, when you run your fingers to it, that it feels good, that it's very balanced. And as you can see through here, we have a nice shape that's coming through here. Now I'm going to do the same thing we just did on this side. And we're going to bring this straight down, again, right in the division point area. So almost like right behind the ear. And this is where we're going to cut this side and mirror the same thing we did, because we want to make sure we're consistent. So let's go back down on the diagonal. There's the guide underneath where we left off, and we're just going to cut straight down like that. Again, for layering, we're going to hold it straight out from the head, and we're going to cut down that way. There's that little bulk, little weight right there, and everything's going to jump. I always say the hair will jump out at you. Like, the hair will basically look like it needs to be cut. If you comb something straight out and it looks really heavy or looks really long, doesn't look right, well, guess what? It means cut it. So I always joke around and say, when in doubt, cut it out. All right, so now we're just going to make sure this is even on this side. And then we're going to start to work in through the side area, right in through here. Now it all depends on where you want, where your client is going to, how she's going to wear her hair. All right, now we're in the side area, and what we're going to do is we're just going to connect the lengths that we left off and kind of create somewhat of a baseline working forward this way. And this is just like if we're cutting a longer haircut, you want to make sure you have a solid baseline. And the solid baseline is just going to really guarantee that, the haircut it's kind of like I always say it's my guarantee, because I know if you have a solid foundation, the haircut's going to look good. All right, meaning like if you were just to cut the base and leave the haircut, it's still going to look good. So I'm bringing everything over to this one point right in through here, and I'm slightly elevating, because remember we still have to layer everything, or you don't. It's up to you. But for this particular look, remember we have all this, but then you want to elevate it slightly so that we're connecting the back in through the sides. And now I'm going to bring this over. Again, I'm going to elevate. And now I'm just doing the same cutting technique that I did throughout the back. And you see the hair is just kind of gliding right off. I always like to leave a little bit of hair in the very, very front here that's a little bit longer, because if I want to go back in and reshape it or cut it shorter, I can, but it's better to have it longer than too short, because if it's too short, then you're kind of like, oh great, you're screwed. So as you can see, it's already kind of falling into place already. This is a little bit heavy into here, but I prefer that because I want that length in there. All right, now we're on the other side. Take a nice section right across, and you want to think of everything as, really connecting. Like, why are you holding a section down? What are you doing? Again, just like last time, we're connecting this part. We're making our base. Now, this is where uneven Steven comes in. We have to make sure that we're balanced and even, and wow, I can't believe it, it's even. I surprise myself when I cut things even. All right, there's a little bit right there. And as you can see, I'm using my finger just to kind of scrape it. And now we're gonna continue to do the same that we did on the other side. So we're gonna bring everything down to this one point, and we're gonna cut, leaving the angle slightly longer going towards the front this way. Just because, again, you want to make sure that you have that length in there if you want to go back in and cut it. So now I'm going to elevate just slightly, because I want to start to work this into the shape. And that's also going to help, while you're cutting the length, you're also removing some of that weight so it's not so heavy. And let's take one more section over this way. And we're going to raise it a little bit. There's the length from the back. And we're going to work forward towards the face, just like that. And you want to just keep in mind, as you're razoring, you are kind of adding a lot more of a thin type look to the ends, not super thin, but you're removing weight. So just keep in mind, you don't want to do this technique on someone whose hair is like super, super curly, unless you're okay with it and you're comfortable with doing that. But each hair type, really, you have to have the right hair type to do something like this. All right, here's the front now. As you can see, we have that kind of longer piece, a triangle, which means anytime you have something like this, it means that it's longer in the front. Okay, that's simply what that means. So we're going to bring this down, and I'm definitely uneven. But they don't call me Uneven Steven for nothing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this length up a little bit here. And remember, it's okay to do that. You know, you can go, that's the point of going back in to reshape everything. Okay, so let's bring this over. And now it really depends on like how you want to wear this. You know, do you want to have this kind of going extreme over this way? Do you want to have it going, you know, over this way? That's why I like the diversity of bringing everything over to both sides. So you can really, the client can have some really diverse options for this. And creating kind of like a summer cut, a summer look based off of this is something I think is really, really nice. So what I want to do is I want to go in with my shears and I'm going to just reshape this and doing a little bit of point cutting. So right in through here, it was a little bit longer. So I'm just going to work that shape in this way. And I don't really want to disrupt the layered shape a lot. So I'm going to work more on the interior, on the top here. I'm going to remove a little bit of that weight. So I'm going to bring the head down a little. I'm going to take a vertical section. And now when you look at this, there's a little bit of a slight disconnect right in through here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to connect it just like that. And what you can always do is after you're done drying the hair is go back in and re-razor the whole thing. And that's where I like doing it. It's almost like, you know, doing some dry cutting. This side is fine. It's okay to go back in and refine a little bit with the shears. Totally okay. Because that's kind of what I think is what puts the icing on the cake. And now it's just ever so slightly, like that actually is a good sign that there's not a lot of hair that needs to be cut. So if I was going back in right now and pulling this all straight up with my shears and seeing like crazy amounts of hair that were like pieces all the way up here and really uneven, then we'd be in trouble. But the fact that there isn't a lot of that is actually a really, really good thing. So now if I overextend this all the way this way, we've got some excess length here, which I'm just going to trim up. But I'm over directing it to the corner. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm going to bring this all the way over here. And I'm going to make sure that there's not a lot of hair that is longer. And what that's doing is that's creating an opportunity for the hair to kind of have a better flow. All right, so there's that. And a quick little trick is to comb this down this way, and then you can go back in and feel with your fingers. And just slightly longer on this one side. So I'm just going to go back in and trim that up. All right, now what we're going to do is I'm going to put some product in the hair, then we're going to blow dry it, and then we're going to see what the hair looks like and then do any sort of finishing touches. All right, so basically I'm using my product Plush, and Plush is a smoothing serum that doesn't weigh your hair down. And when I came out with this, after testing this with different formulas and against other different products, I love the fact that this one smoothed out the hair, but it kept volume. And I've tried other ones when I was testing that made it silky smooth, but the hair was so flat. And when I was blow drying this, I was realizing like, oh my God, like I did side by side, like one section this, one section with the other one. And I said, oh my gosh, this is the one. Because it didn't weigh the hair down and it smoothed it, but also kept the volume. So that's what Plush is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to blow dry it using the brush, the sculpting brush, and then I'm going to start to blow dry the hair and create like a wrap this way to really just smooth it out and to add some texture to it. And then after I'm done blow drying it, we'll come back and then we'll start to see if we need to do any more texturizing to it. All right, here is the finished result. And I think this looks really, really nice. And I created a little bit of an arch right here when I blow dried it, just to give a little bit of an, if you want to wear it off your face this way, a little more kind of conservative, or, this is definitely more of a conservative type look with this haircut. Whereas before, you saw when I was blow drying, it was a lot more towards the face this way. But what I want to do right now is I want to really texturize the hair quite a bit. And I'm going to do that with my thinning shears. And we have a lot of room here to take away some of this excess bulk in through here. The reason I want to go to thinning shears is because it's going to be a lot more aggressive, I think, than taking out hair with the razor. So I'm going to really, and as you can see, look at all that hair is coming out already. Just be careful when you take the hair out. But this mannequin from Hair Art Products, it's 100% human virgin hair. So this is pretty much as close as cutting a real person as you can get. And it's got a lot of hair. So that's why there's so much hair that's coming off. As you can see, I mean, look at that. There's a lot of hair coming off. But what this is gonna do is it's gonna allow for much better flow to the whole thing. And let's turn this way. And the back, maybe not as much, because we use the razor on the back, the whole thing. So we have a lot more, we don't have as much hair to work with, but there's a lot of hair working towards the front this way that can come out. And remember, you only really want to do this if the client's hair can justify it. You do not want to do this on super curly hair, super thin hair. This is really for someone who the haircut can justify it and it needs it. All right, so let's turn this back towards the front. And as you can see now, we're getting a lot more kind of movement to it, a lot more shape to it that's going to be easier to manage for the client. And that's where this comes in really handy. And you want to do this when it's dry, for the most part. Mostly do this when it's dry. And look, see already, you bring this over, you've got softer pieces in through here. I think it really looks nice. It's a great summer haircut. And I hope you guys, really enjoyed this kind of step-by-step haircut. So I'm going to show you a few different angles, and we'll be right back. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this step-by-step haircut, and I really think this came out awesome. Like, I surprise myself all the time when I do these haircuts, and I'm just like, wow. So, I hope you enjoyed this. I think it's a really fun summer haircut, something very edgy, and it was great to see the transformation of, going from how we first started into this. So thank you so much for watching. And if you're a professional, let me know if you're a professional or a student, and if my haircut tutorials helped you, and if this particular haircut really helped you out. I'd love to know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time for more videos 5 days a week with the Salon Guy.